going on, guys? This is Bruce Matson, your host of the show, Metro Scout Fantasy Football, the show that looks at all things fantasy, from redraft to dynasty, DFS. We cover some campus and some Devy. We talk about all of it, everything in between. If that's something you're into, make sure you hit that subscribe button, ring the bell. Spread the word by telling your homies. Let them know. Get the word out. As we all know, big trade news. Julio Jones is now going to Tennessee. He's going to be paired up with A.J. Brown, Ryan Tannehill, Derrick Henry. And this was kind of expected, kind of not really. A.J. Brown was making a big plea to get Julio in Tennessee. He was pretty much praying for him, begging for him to come over. And it happened. They made the sign. A.J. Brown's got his guy. From the surface, looking from the outside, looking in and looking at the way the offense was last year, as in it's pegged at a low-volume passing offense, and it's hard for people to believe how both A.J. Brown and Julio will eat on the same team. Looking at last year's numbers, A.J. Brown had a 26% target share. Corey Davis had a 23% share of the targets. The team was ninth with a 25.2 seconds ran between plays. Going into this year, they have about 192, damn near 200 some vacated targets because they lost Johnny Smith and Adam Humphries. And God knows that Fisker is going to take over the offense. Josh Reynolds is not a factor. He's not going to get targets over Julio Jones. What I read from looking at the tea leaves, from looking at the script, from looking how Ryan Tannehill divvies up the targets, is that he wants the funnel passes to his number one and number two guy, or his 1A and 1B guy. Last year was A.J. Brown and Corey Davis. That appears to be what's going to be happening this year. It's going to be A.J. Brown and Julio Jones. One of them's going to get the larger share of the targets. One of them's probably going to get the larger share of the air yards. If you can make a guess from style of play, Julio's going to command the air yards. He's going to get the deeper looks. A.J. Brown's probably going to get more targets. Percentage-wise, it may be not that much more than Julio. They're probably both going to be well over 20%. They're probably both going to be around 25%-ish. One's probably a little less. One will probably be a little bit more. Probably be comparable to what A.J. Brown and Corey Davis was last year, but probably a little different. It could be like A.J. Brown 28, Julio 25, or flip-flopped or whatever, but I think they're both going to have a heavy command of the offense. I don't see why Ryan Tannehill would want to divvy up from those two and start targeting Josh Reynolds out of nowhere, targeting Des Fitzpatrick. It's not going to happen. They signed Julio Jones for a reason. They know A.J. Brown's an alpha. Those two are a match made in heaven. They kind of play well with each other. A.J. Brown, short to intermediate guy, monster yak. Julio Jones, one of the best deep threats ever to play a game. I'm not going to play like that PFF guy and say he's the greatest ever, like he did with Tyreek Hill, but Julio Jones is one of the best deep threats to ever play the game. He can climb the ladder, he can go get it. So, of course, they're going to stretch him to get the air yards. They're going to use A.J. Brown, short to intermediate. And the volume of this passing offense is what's going to be tricky to peg out. Last year, they were bottom 3 in the league with a 49% pass rate. One of the few teams that was under 50%. It's rare to be under a 50% pass rate these days. That could easily change. You have Julio now. That's a big difference between Corey Davis. That's a big difference. You have an aging Julio who can still get downfield and make plays, and then you got A.J. Brown also working on the outside and in the slot. You're moving them around. This is a big deal. I can see them increasing the passing rate some. I don't think they're going to go air raid. That's not going to happen. Will they increase it some? Probably. It's a big factor that you have Julio now. It's the big mismatch problem that you have A.J. Brown and Julio. You can't shadow either one of them because the other one's going to eat. You can't put 7, 8, 9 guys in the box. You can't do that. That means Derrick Henry's probably going to eat some too. Last year, he was 15th in the league with 7.1 defenders on average in the box for him. So that, even though his middle range among starting running backs, that's going to decrease even more because teams are going to have to respect Julio. Teams are going to have to respect A.J. Brown, and that's going to give solid running lanes for Henry to run through. And this offense is just going to be clicking. Will it be fire like in Kansas City or some of the top offenses in the leagues? We're just going to have to see. But they have the pieces now. Can Julio Jones stay healthy? That's the big question because he has faced injuries over the course of his career. He's in the twilight now. What is this going to look like? We don't know, but I imagine target share-wise, it's going to be A.J. Brown, Julio commanding a large share of the targets. Together, they're probably going to be over 50% share of the targets, probably pushing 60%. And being a big focal point. And the passing rate has to increase from 49%. I mean, I'm not saying it's air raid, but it could be up to like 50, 51, 52, 55%, something like that, and still benefit the players in the offense. For Derrick Henry, I see this as a good opportunity for him, being able to run against smaller boxes, less guys in the box. Switching things over to Atlanta, everything should have already been baked in the price point because we knew Julio was moving. It was going to happen. Kyle Pitts' value is now through the roof, and it's even more through the roof. It's in the stratosphere. It's out there. He is probably valued as a top 4, top 5, top 3 tight end, and that's consensus. Not among Dynasty aficionados who've been loving on him all offseason. This is consensus now. Redraft, Dynasty, DFS. Everyone's in on Kyle Pitts now. It does not matter. Calvin Ridley, he has been pegged as a candidate to finish the year as a wide receiver 1 going into this offseason. We knew Julio was leaving. We knew Ridley's targets has been increasing throughout his career. Last year we saw a good glimpse of that. And now with Julio out of the fold, with them bringing in Pitts, it looks like it's a good opportunity for Ridley. If he can keep it consistent throughout week 1 to the final week of the season, then we could have a big year from him. All in all, it's pretty easy to peg with those guys. Tennessee's a little bit harder to shake out, but to summarize, I think Julio and A.J. Brown, large share of the targets, probably about a 60% target share between the two, and I think the passing rate has to go up at least some. I'm not expecting air raid, but I'm expecting the pass rate to increase. I'm expecting Derrick Henry to blow up as well. As long as he's healthy, as long as Julio and A.J. Brown's on the field, I think Derrick Henry is going to smash. I think when we think about A.J. Brown and Julio together, I think A.J. Brown has the same ceiling. I think the ceiling's still there. I think the floor's a little lower because we really don't know how the offense is going to be impacted because if Derrick Henry's smashing, then they don't need to pass. If they're in a firefight, then they're slinging rocks to Julio and A.J. Brown, and it's between the two. Julio may be the volatile option in this offense because he's going to be getting more of the deep balls. A.J. Brown is going to be consistent. He's going to be getting the short to intermediate targets and probably going to be relied on a bunch of yak and red zone looks. I want to thank you guys for keeping up with the show. It means a lot to me. Make sure you hit that subscribe button on the way out. Ring the bell, tell your homies, and I'll catch you next time.